Kiddos, hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today I wanted to share with you some plants that are doing pretty well considering it is winter here in Sydney. It has been freezing cold. We woke up today to like 5 degrees Celsius. If you haven't heard, there's been this icy polar blast that brought winter forward for us here in Sydney and Melbourne, and it's been a lot colder than previous winters that I've had here in Sydney. So that's something that we're sort of getting used to a little bit. That's also one of the reasons why I posted a video on how to prepare your plants for winter. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it in the cards above and in the description box below. But yeah, today I wanted to share with you some plants that are doing pretty well despite all of this. And so if you're interested to see what they are, then definitely keep on watching. And if you're new around here, my name is Grace and I post videos on growing houseplants and care tips and things like that, and also with a little bit of lifestyle sprinkle in between. So if you like this sort of content, then consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I post new videos. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. First up, we've got my Hoya honeydew. This has been such an easy care plant. It has been a prolific grower as well. This used to live in my grow tent, if you remember from my previous videos in my old place, but I have recently taken it out of the grow tent and moved it into this corner of my room. So it gets pretty good direct north-facing light, not too harsh, but it gets pretty good sun exposure. So it's been really acclimatizing well in this space. And I just love how bushy it's gotten. So just to give you kind of an overview of what it's looking like, it's really lush and full, if you can see that. And it's also been a prolific bloomer. It started to put out peduncles in the grow tent in my previous place, and it hasn't stopped flowering since then. It's even flowered once before in this new space. I think that has pretty much gone, but as you can see here, it's put out a peduncle that's still developing. So I'm pretty sure that this will continue to bloom for me. And I just really enjoy the look of this plant. I also really like feeling it. It's a little bit fuzzy, but not too much. And I just love the shape of the leaves. I'm not sure how you would describe it, but there is also like darkened rims around the edges of the leaf due to sun stressing, and I really enjoy the look of that. And so yeah, when I thought about this video, this was definitely the #1 plant that I had to share with you guys. And I don't remember if I've said this before, but this is the Hoya honeydew. Next up, we've got another thriving plant, which is my Epipremnum Cebu Blue. This has been super resilient. I had it in a shadier part of my grow tent in my previous place, and it didn't mind at all. It's continued to grow really beautifully, and even though I moved it out of the grow tent into this different environment, it just acclimatized like a champ. There's been very, very minimal leaf loss on this one. It's so bushy, so full at the top, and the leaves are just this beautiful shade of silvery blue-green, which I absolutely love. I actually prefer the look of the Cebu Blue as a trailing plant. I know some others prefer to put it on a moss pole and watch it grow super large leaves and start to put out fenestrations as well, but I personally prefer the look of trailing plants. In one of my previous videos, I talked about how I wanted this to grow into a really lush, bushy pot, and I feel like we are almost there. I'm just so happy with how it's looking right now, and I can't believe that this is literally made up of cuttings that I got from plant swaps and things like that. One of my absolute pride and joys. Next up is a peperomia, and this is my Peperomia quadrangularis. I can't pronounce the word, but I'll just put it up on screen. Starting to see a pattern here with the types of plants that I like. I am definitely partial to trailing plants. I like them with small leaves, and I like that full bushy kind of look. And this definitely ticks all those boxes. And I just really also enjoy the little stripes on the leaves. I think it gives it a little bit more dimension and texture. And this is one that I've shared with you guys, I think in my early days on YouTube. It was one of my Peperomia collection videos, and you can see how far it's come. I believe it was just sort of like up to here maybe, and not as bushy of a pot before, but it's definitely come quite a long way. And this is one that I've honestly neglected. I don't really pay too much attention to this plant. I just water it as per usual and give it lots of light, and it's really bushed out for me. So if you're looking for a plant that you don't really have to fuss much with, and if you are like me and enjoy the look of a bushy trailing plant, you might want to consider this Peperomia. It's really easy to find, and it doesn't break the bank either, and it's just so beautiful. Next up, we've got my Scindapsus pictus silver lady. Now I can't show you this plant because it's firmly attached itself to my window frame, but I will insert some b-roll as we talk through it. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of this plant. I love the shape of it, the fact that it's rounded at the top and really pointy at the bottom. I also love the pattern that it gets from the silver coloration. I love how silvery it is. So much so that I have multiples of this plant because I've taken so many propagations off of it. I've also sold some propagations and gave away some propagations, so this is a plant that just gives and gives. But it's never looked as good as it does now. I find that it looks the best when it's shingling up something because it looks really compact and the leaves just look really neat and orderly. But if you let it trail, I oftentimes find that it skips nodes or it just sends out these runners without any leaves on them, and it doesn't really look as good. So if you're struggling with any of the Scindapsus pictus varieties, definitely try and let it shingle and see if it makes a difference for you. But yeah, back to this plant. It is doing so well in this new environment. It was kind of shingling before in my previous place, but when I moved it here, I kind of taped it and attached it to the window frame so that it can attach itself on there. I believe it has firmly attached itself. And it's just really enjoying where it is at the moment. Even though it's winter right now, it has not slowed down in growth and it's putting out new leaf after new leaf. And I'm really excited to be able to share with you guys at the end of winter and see how tall it gets. So if you're interested to see where it gets to, definitely hit subscribe and follow along its journey. If you're enjoying the video so far, guys, please do me a big favor and hit that thumbs up button. It helps other viewers find my video. And also don't forget to leave me a comment down below. I really love chatting to you guys in the comment section. And now let's get back into it. Speaking of shingling plants, the next one is this beautiful Philodendron Burl Marx Fantasy. This is another one that looks much better shingling up something. And so I've put this on a moss pole. I believe I showed this plant before in my previous videos, in my philodendron collection video, in my moss pole plants video, which I will link all of that in the description box below if you want to check them out. But this is an update as to what it's looking like right now. I am actually so impressed with how this plant is doing in this new environment. I was told that this was a humidity loving plant and that it really needs high humidity to thrive. But as you can see here, it's already outgrown the pole, and this one I've actually left in the second bathroom. And I'm not quite sure what the humidity levels are in there, but it's been doing really well. Look at the size of the newest leaves that it's put out. See, that one is still a really light color because it's still hardening off. And this one up here as well, it's a new one that it's put out in this new space. And overall, it's been doing really well despite the cold temperatures. I don't really baby this plant at all ever since we moved into this new space. I've just put it in the bathroom with some of my other bathroom plants. I make sure to keep the moss pole moist and not let it dry out. It gets a pretty good exposure to north-facing light because the bathroom has a north-facing window. But I must say, I am quite surprised at how resilient this plant is. In my mind, I thought I needed to baby it. I've seen this put in terrariums and things like that for it to grow nicely, but I honestly have just left it on a moss pole and it's growing perfectly fine. And also, have a look at this leaf right here. When it was unfurling, it got stuck and I tried to help it out, but I accidentally ripped it all the way. And it's holding on for dear life right here. This is the only part of it that's still attached. And surprisingly, this leaf is still alive. Look at how many other new leaves it's put out since then, and it's still hanging in there. So whoever who said that this plant is a little bit of a diva, I personally can't say I share the same experience because it's been doing really well for me. By the way, I purchased this plant as a single leaf cutting maybe a year or so ago, and it has grown relatively quickly for me. Granted, I did propagate it, so there are 2 plants growing up this moss pole, but yeah, so far so good. Can't say any more good things about this plant. And if you were ever on the fence about it, I'd say definitely go for it. Next on the list of plants that are doing well in winter is this beautiful Dischidia nummularia large form. I think the common name for this plant is the string of nickels. I love the silvery blue kind of color to it. I love the rounded leaves. They're so cute. I was quite worried about this plant because I don't really have many Dischidias and I'm not too sure about the care for them. I'm still trying to figure them out. But so far so good with this one. I might have also shared this with you guys a couple of months ago in one of my videos, and I will try and find it and link it down below as well so you can see what it looked like several months back. And it's putting out all this new growth. I'm not sure if you can tell, but yeah, that's one. Yeah, just overall, I'm just really happy with this plant. I believe I got this sometime last year, and I was growing it in my grow tent for a little while. Now it lives in my second bathroom as well, and it's doing pretty good. It sort of reminds me a little bit of echeverias or those type of succulents, because it feels like there's a little bit of the farina on the leaves. So I try not to touch it too much, but yeah, definitely one of my obsessions. I just love the look of this plant. I'm so happy to have this in my collection and be able to watch it grow. So that's the Dischidia nummularia large form. Next up, we have my Philodendron rugosum. So the common name for this plant is pigskin plant because of the corrugation on the leaf. Not sure if that's going to show on camera, but it has a really interesting texture to it that feels a little bit rubbery. I'm a huge fan of it. I love that it is heart-shaped. It is quite unassuming, but it's all about that texture. Now this one hasn't shown signs of slowing down. It has been pushing out new leaf after new leaf. Again, very similar to some of the plants that I mentioned before. This used to live in my grow tent, but now it just lives on my shelf behind me. And yeah, it's been doing really well. It hasn't really done anything to suggest that it hasn't acclimatized to this new space. And again, it is not very fussy when it comes to humidity or temperature or anything like that. It has been growing really well for me, even though we are well and truly into winter now. I started off with this plant as a one-leaf cutting as well, and I'm really happy that it's grown as much as it did. I just love the way that it looks, and yeah, another one that's doing really well this winter. And last but not least, I have to share with you guys my Philodendron Florida Beauty. My gosh, this plant has just stolen my heart. As you know, I am a huge fan of the Philodendron Florida plant. I love the shape of the leaves and the 5 lobes. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a huge fan of yellow variegation, but this is one exception. So the variegation starts out as a bit of like a chartreusey sort of color, but as the leaf matures, it fades into a more of a creamy sort of yellow like this one here, and it is just I love it so much. It is not stopping even though it's winter time. It used to live in my grow tent. I've taken it out, so even with the decreased humidity, the colder temperatures, it's been pushing out new leaf after new leaf, and it has grown so much. Let me show you. So this is where the pot is. As I said before in my previous videos, I got this from a plant friend of mine in a plant swap. It was literally just this leaf here and this leaf here, and it's grown into this gorgeous plant. I am so grateful to have this in my collection. It is such a beautiful looking plant. It's grown so well for me. But yeah, this is another plant that's super resilient and doesn't even seem phased that we're into winter now. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed some of the eye candy. If you want to see more planty content from me, I've left some videos up on screen, so feel free to check them out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay mellow, my fellows.